Greetings, comrades, wherever you are. For me, it's good evening here on the East Coast. We are here tonight with Conversation with Leftist podcast with a great new panel. And we're going to have everyone just introduce themselves real quick. To my left is Andrew, who is a FHL regular and also has another podcast coming up at 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. Andrew, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Sorry, I said Anna. My bad.
Sorry, I'll get you, Anna. Don't worry.
Hello, everyone. Andrew on Twitter, Radical Pragmatist, Radical Pragmat 1. I'm excited to be here. And yeah, as Liv says, I'm co-hosting another show at 8. So just keep watching this channel for the next 3 or 4 hours and you'll be good. You know,
stay tuned,
hear
y'all.
From a lot of different perspectives. So yeah, awesome.
And to my right is Austin.
Hello, good folks out there. It's nice to see y'all again. I hope y'all are ready to talk some mad shit with us. Let's go.
Let's go. Right below me is Anna. Anna, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hello, I am Anna. Anna's still crying. Hello. I'm back.
And Anna is emceeing with me tonight. So
yeah.
she really wanted to talk about our second topic we'll be talking about later today, which is especially focusing on mental health and the healthcare system under death/late stage capitalism. So so thank you, Anna, for helping me MC tonight. Thank you. Love having you here. And to Anna's left is Steve. Steve, hi, how are you?
Pretty good. Thanks. I feel like I'm part of the left behind, the left that got behind after the Democratic Party decided to move on. My forum posted at Daily Coast, if anybody even remembers that dinosaur.
Awesome.
With that name, Stephen D. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. So happy to have you. And to Anna's right is Savage Joy.
Hey, Joy Marie Mann. I've had a show on independent media for over 4 years. So you could just type in Savage Joy Marie Mann on YouTube and find me. And I'm also a co-author of a shit lib parody book. And which is going on a book signing tour with Jimmy Dore.
Rock and roll. All right.
And last but certainly not least is our comrade, Jason. How are you doing, Jason?
I'm doing great. I raced home as fast as I could to get on this podcast because I love you guys so much.
So happy to have you.
And I got my burrito because I haven't eaten anything since 8 o'clock. And I'm ready to talk about the world collapsing all around us. All right, let's get to it. I'm just going to fix my
Let's get right into it. Let's just jump right into it. I think we all were really nipping at the bud to jump into this conversation. So our first topic is the very publicized, yet it is, I would like to mention that it is an ongoing and has been ongoing since nearly 2014. So this ongoing humanitarian crisis at our particularly southern border, because no, you do not see this happening with Canada. This is a particularly problem with our southern border with people of color that they're targeting immigrants, refugee and asylum seekers from Latin America and South America. Again, this has been ongoing for, 2014, almost 8 years now. It's been heightened by the influx of Haitian immigrants after the natural disasters that they've experienced, specifically the most latest earthquake. So they came here legally seeking asylum status. And I'm sure we've all seen the horrific images that have appeared online on social media of Border Patrol, mostly white men on horses, whipping the Haitian immigrants, mostly people of color, with reins, because that apparently makes it okay. And that's being done under the Biden administration. And his press secretary is saying, that's just how we have to, commit to law and order and enforcing our policies. Where's the outrage, y'all? Because I'm fucking pissed.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. They pick and choose the times when they want to focus on that crisis. And most of the time it does not come up. We don't hear about it. Frankly, I was shocked with Biden being in that they were suddenly going to be talking about it because they spent so much time with Trump. I figured they were just going to let Biden slide. But yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? And it's like we're being led around the nose. And today we're going to worry about a crisis that has been ongoing, generated in part by our own policies in the area. Supporting dictators and death squads and all that shit. The climate change, obviously. So it's bizarre, but it doesn't surprise me one bit. And I can't imagine it also surprised either.
It is, certainly surprising that it's getting talked about since it's Biden. However, we have to recognize why it's being talked about. It's because video was leaked. Pictures were leaked.
Yep.
We are the media. That's what it comes down to. When people like us, when activists, when organizers come out and we're like, guess what? Look what we saw, and we expose it, then they kind of are inadvertently forced to start talking about it because they need it's all about accountability. A lot of people don't care about accountability because they're too privileged. But this is something that hits close to home with me because in 2016, when I was at Occupy DNC, and we were protesting the convention for 6 days, I met a bunch of Haitian people who immigrated from Haiti and were there to protest Hillary Clinton because of what she did to them and their families and everyone else in Haiti. For those who don't know, like a little bit of backstory, her Clinton Foundation, which, has been, shite from the start. And actually, she didn't even mention it when she accepted her nomination because it's under so many investigations. They raised $8 billion for Haiti after the earthquakes, and they gave them 6% of it. So their cities were still completely demolished. People were dead, everything like that. And they were sharing their stories with me. And I was like, damn, I wasn't going to vote for this bitch as it was, but what the hell? And it was like, nobody was covering this. And then to see all of this shit now, Haitian people went to her campaign office, and her Secretary of State office, and they protested for years. And she never once met with them or anything like that, of course. It's no surprise. Black and brown people just get the worst of the worst treatment in our country. And, we all knew this. People who voted for Biden knew he had, deported more people than Trump. They called Obama deporter in chief. Like, people who voted for him knew what they were voting for. And I'm not trying to vote shame. I'm just saying he never tried to dupe people. This is what you guys, whoever voted for him was voting for, period. And, Kamala straight up said, don't come. That's her empathy. Don't come. So it's real easy to say that. But then the irony is, these people are wanting to come here because we're making their lives hell. So think about the irony of that. Like, they feel safer coming to us, even though we're the ones destroying their lives. That's bananas, but that's just shows how privileged we all are. Not to rant, sorry.
No, all excellent points that need to be made. And what I would like for because I did, and what Steve just mentioned, is like how this is our fault that we've caused this humanitarian crisis, and now we're making it worse by denying legal refugee and asylum seeking status to these people coming to us begging for us for help. Desperation is obviously an understatement. Anyway, I would love to hear more from y'all about what you know about the history of the U.S. interventions that have led to this humanitarian crisis the modern day humanitarian crisis that we've been seeing. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, this is irony that I find a lot, very consistent with conservatives, both in Canada and in the United States, but specifically with the United States, where these very, Reagan-esque wannabes will complain about immigrants and complain about migrants and refugees and all that kind of shit. Like, why do they want to come here? Why can't they just stay in their own country and shit like that? Well, the thing is, they're shitheads because conservatives vote for the very same politicians, liberals too, by the way, vote for the very same politicians that support imperialist American foreign policy so that private companies can exploit Black and brown people in South American and African countries by deposing left-wing and socialist leaders or sabotaging their systems so freaking much, or just straight up killing their leaders, because we all know, like, what happened with Pinochet. Unfortunately, Canada had a role to play in installing him as well. And then they complain when these people come to the United States seeking asylum. Here's the thing. These people aren't stupid. They know damn well who's responsible for destroying their country. They know it was U.S. imperialism. If you go down to these countries and you talk to them, right, they know for a fact that the United States has been meddling in their country for so long. You don't even need to talk to a socialist for them to know that. But they come to the United States because where the hell else are they going to go? A lot of these white people who talk about these immigrants and these migrants and these asylum seekers and refugees, I swear, if and when America hits a similar tipping point and a huge humanitarian disaster happens, and I mean something that's bigger than COVID, because you guys are definitely going to head down that road at some point, Americans are going to be fleeing to other countries saying, well, we need somewhere to go. Like, there's no empathy in there at all. And all the Border Patrol agents running around with these whips, whipping these poor people like they're playing a game of Red Dead Redemption. It's absolutely horrific to watch with their cowboy hats and their whips. It's like something out of a movie. And
Bad movie.
Hearing Kamala say, don't come, it's very much nothing new. At this point, she's just admitting, straight up admitting, like Obama did, like what Biden did, exactly what they want. They want to keep Black and brown people out of the country. They destroy these South American countries and destroy their socialist leaders and their policies and create the refugee crises. And they don't even they barely care about, they don't care about the people at all. They do it so that private companies can go in there and exploit those poor people. It's an endless cycle. And unless massive amounts of people are educated on this matter, unless a lot of people are educated on the history of Latin America, on the history of these South American countries being terrorized by U.S. imperialism, unless they are educated, the amount of apathy that we see is going to continue. Because what I think a lot of people, even on the left, are refusing to acknowledge is that there is a deadly amount of centrism and middle of the work bullshit, middle of the road, whatever, fence sitting. Because it's gotten to the point where the most egregious, horrible action taken by conservatives is just seen as just having another opinion. People will go on Twitter and they'll look at these images of these people getting whipped and having to cross all these rivers and shit. And they're afraid to say anything because they're tired of talking politics with their uncles and their grandpas and shit. They don't want to get involved in this because they're like, oh, there's probably something I don't know. Maybe they have a point. It's just their opinion. I don't want to get involved in it. And that is deadly. That is deadly and detrimental to what we are trying to accomplish. So one of the best things we can do is mass education, is just shouting the history of the U.S. in Latin America from the rooftops. That's one of the first steps to helping solve this issue in the future, by forcing these politicians and, holding their throats with, public knowledge of what they've done in Latin America.
Admitting the truth and admitting past mistakes. And we have a new co-host who just joined us. Adrian, hi, how are you?
Oh. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
God was a little late. Sorry about that.
No problem. Thanks for being here. We're
Can I
on
just,
our first
I'm sorry,
Go,
I
Savage.
can't
Sure.
see his name. Can I just ask you a question about what you said? You mentioned conservatives and Republicans numerous times, but didn't say anything about Dems. So I'm kind of wondering where you stand, if you think like most problems are from Republicans or
I
like,
definitely heard him say like Dems and liberals.
Yeah. I just see the liberals and the Democrats as blatant enablers, right? It's the pendulum that only goes one way. Republicans are elected and the pendulum swings towards oppression, genocide, all that shit. Democrats are elected and the pendulum slows a bit. And yeah, I see them as enablers of the Republicans. I see them as the people who compromise with evil. I see them as just do nothing establishment lowlives. Now, are they as malicious as the Republicans? In my mind, yes, but they just don't show it. They just don't show it as often because they show it through enabling Republicans. I don't want to come off as someone who's just passive towards the Democrats. The DNC could burn down tomorrow, and I wouldn't give two shits about it. But I am genuinely scared of the Republicans, and I see the Democrats as their enablers. So, yeah, there you go.
I think
Does that answer your question, Savage Joy? Sorry, Anna, go
thank you
ahead.
for clarifying.
Yeah,
What do you have to say, Anna?
I think that, the Democrats are very much just the same, but with a performative element in there. The co-opting of language from leftists, tax the rich, stuff like that. Using that with no actual, backing to it. It's just very performative. And, the way I think about it, it's like, Republicans are like war crimes. And then Democrats, it's like war crimes with like sparkle emojis. You know what I mean?
LGBTQIA flag.
Yeah, like
pride flag. Yep.
yeah, like the picture of like the bomber jet.
Them dropping bombs. That meme.
Yeah. They say that these are being sent by a woman. Wow, like
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I very much agree with the fact that they are enablers, and I think behind closed doors they are all very much the same.
Well, I mean, they're paid by the same people, so it's not surprising.
Exactly.
Of course.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole purpose. I mean, that's the whole purpose of the post World War II economic system was created to put in place the U.S. as the imperial power of the West, and to an extent possible, exploit countries in Africa, South America, Asia, wherever. And that's how we ended up in some of these like bizarre wars like Korea or Vietnam. It wasn't just all this concern about communism. It was a lot more a concern about, we want to remain the dominant financial and, military power on the planet.
Yeah, like let's be clear, it was like global dominance for the U.S. That's what it was.
Yeah, and they're trying to. This is what we're in the stage we're in now. We're in the stage where they're starting to lose their grip. The economic backing is falling away as we've gone to greater income wealth inequality. We've actually damaged our economy by using these free trade practices to our detriment. We set up other countries to become financial powers, and so we're sticking all our assets into military stuff, and trying to create contained chaos. I think is what the military's job is. Try to create contained chaos so you can sell weapons and you can foment wars and you can make money. Private sector can make money.
I think the two-party system is one of the unfortunately smartest things that America has done. It gives you an enemy, it gives the people this sense of having something to fight against or someone to fight against, when in reality, that is all one. They are all the same. And, because if it weren't for that, it would just be us against them. And that's terrifying to them, obviously. And so having this two-party system, breaks that up, and it really is, interesting.
Interesting. Oh yeah, that's the word you gotta use. Yeah, deliberate, intentional. Because these, like, I'm reading, like, what I did was when I was doing my research, it's Wikipedia, but there's a page of United States involvement in regime change in Latin America, and it's participation of the United States in regime change in Latin America involved U.S.-backed coup d'etats aimed at replacing left-wing leaders with right-wing leaders, military juntas, and other authoritarian regimes. So just to list off the countries that are included in this, again, this is Latin America, but it's also including South America. It says Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Costa Rica, Cuba, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Venezuela. Like, okay, so think about that. That's mostly military intervention.
Every
right?
country in South America.
Interesting. They seem to be coming from one direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
well, we can find something there that we want, then we get interested in dominating that country's politics. It's like Bolivia with the rare minerals and stuff. All of a sudden, we had to get rid of the socialist Bolivian president that had the backing of the vast majority of his people.
Yep.
And I think
before that, no one in America gave a crap about Bolivia. All of a sudden, now now he's evil. He's a socialist. We got to get rid of him. Because they found something there that they needed.
We got to have our computer chips.
I would also like to say real fast that since America happens to be a capitalist country, we don't want to have socialist countries on our southern border and in Cuba and everywhere else. So we do everything in our power to actually destroy them. So that's also something worth considering for sure.
Yep. Anna, what do you have to say?
Partially what I was going to say, another part of that is, we can't have a successful socialist or communist government because that's an example.
It's a threat.
We can't. Yeah, it's a threat. And anything beneficial for anyone else is a threat to our, needs.
Way of
our slave system.
Right.
I was going to say this. It's effectively, we're in a global slave system because capitalism has infected every part of the world, to include China. I mean, you could argue that China is, at least economically, foreign policy wise, pretty capitalist.
Hell yeah.
And to talk about foreign policy, our foreign policy and our climate policy that's why we have this migration issue right now. Not only just from disrupting people's countries and their governments and stuff, but writ large, the exploitation of the world, the people, and the resources that have created a climate change that we're going to hit like 2.7 degrees is pretty sure now. 1.5 is a damn dream apparently, unless we get some. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I said unless we get some really smart people working really hard on these issues.
Yep. Yeah.
About
Andrew, what do you got?
war in general. Oh, sorry about that, Andrew.
You can go ahead.
Also raising my hand. It's just about war in general. I mean, we're getting out of Afghanistan right now. We're seeing how hard it is and sort of the media and everything else that goes on to it. So I'm just a little curious, more or less, how fast, because I think under Obama, we went to like 7 wars plus Niger. I'm wondering how fast we can actually pull back from these wars, let the American people know it's the right thing to do, and then use diplomacy, things like that. And how possible is it? How should we, work towards that goal?
Yeah. Andrew, what do you have to say?
Well, I was just going to say, I think, Trump in many ways, in terms of the elite and oligarchs, was such a gift because what Trump managed to do was to people, it made people think that they were waking up, and in many ways they were falling asleep, right? Because now people put so many values that previously they had aside, right? Previously there was anti-war sentiment. Now that Trump's in power, that's gone, right? Obama sort of squashed that, right? And now we have the fact that when it came to what was happening in terms of humanitarian crisis is at the border with Trump, everyone was like, oh, this is something we can get him, right? So all of the centrist liberal people cared about that. Now that Trump is gone and we're still seeing these disturbing pictures, right? Kids are still locked up in their cages. Suddenly now it's, well, this isn't showing the whole context of everything, right? When it was Trump, all you needed was that picture in order to say this is a problem, this is a humanitarian crisis. Now that it's Biden, I'm hearing people saying either one, oh, the picture doesn't say everything, or two, oh, well, this is a remnants of Trump. This is Trump's fault. Biden's cleaning up. This is happening under Biden's watch, right? And so people somehow do not, it is completely, it doesn't occur to people like we need to have equal scrutiny when we see something happening that is abhorrent, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think in many ways, there are still so many people who are just kind of asleep being like, oh, Biden has got it, right? Jen Psaki gave like a terrible answer to the question of what was happening at the border in those pictures. Yes. And if Sarah Huckabee Sanders said that, right? You know how long they would talk about all of this. So I think until we actually start being a country with actual values and consistent values, nothing is going to change because, like what was mentioned before, it's just Team Red and Team Blue going at it with each other. And when Team Red is not in power, this stuff matters. And when Team Blue is, it all matters again, right? And people somehow are going to keep falling for it. And I think, as Jessica in the comments said, that just shows that we are the most propagandized country maybe in the world in terms of that. Even though we like to say that we have free press, in many ways, I don't think we do.
No, and also the interesting thing is, yesterday, what was it? It was Respect Biden was trending.
Oh, is that trending?
Respect Biden. Like, for what? Like, I don't take orders, so you can fuck off, first of all. But also, it was absolutely incredible that I made the mistake of looking at some of the comments, which was fucking stupid, because I knew I would just be like,
you're smarter than that.
I know, but I'm doing a second book, so I need more material.
It was research.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, I have done, plenty of studying and researching executive orders, and don't ever question the fact Biden absolutely 1,000,000% can get those kids out of cages with an executive order today if he wanted to. End of story.
Stroke of a pen. Done. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Easy.
And also something interesting I learned was when people start wars, when the president starts wars, they actually, by law, are required to let Congress know for 48 hours before they do it. But it hasn't been done since World War II.
Yes. Hence Afghanistan and everything else. Yes. That was a new fact to me too. That the abuse of presidential powers to initiate and invade other countries and start wars. Unchecked powers, abusive powers, and it's still happening. It's still fucking happening because now it's just the status quo. Now it's just as they do. Now we're not even gonna fucking question it. But like, where's the outrage? People now, these same people that were outraged over Trump and these kids in cages are now rebranding it as, well, they're in overflow containment facilities. Like, no, that did not change. There's still fucking kids in cages, and there's only getting to be more, and it's only getting worse. So, like, where's your outrage? Like, it blows my mind that it takes just like this, just again, like this crisis has been going on at the border since 2014, and it just blows my mind that we've just been going through like these waves again of like they're coming into the news, and oh, there's the outrage, and we got all the outrage under Trump. Now we're here with Biden, and I'm not hearing it from enough people. Like you said, respect Biden was trending. Like, no, that is not the outrage that should be trending right now. That will get the change. That will get these people the refuge and asylum seeking status they need. That will not get us the change.
Well, one thing I did, and I'm sorry I keep talking. One thing I did was I put a picture that I found of kids in cages who were coloring. They were drawing pictures, and I posted it on Twitter, and I'm like, see, Biden does care. And people were like, yay. And I was like, oh, by the way, this was actually in 2017. So it was actually Trump.
Yep. Austin, what do you got?
Well,
oh, you, Austin.
What?
Sorry, we'll come back to you, Austin.
I do have something.
You go on.
I've got one. I got one glove over here for a donkey, and then over here for my left hand because they're Democrats. No. I mean, sorry, the donkey's for the left hand, and then this is for the elephant. Now the gloves need to be a little longer, but I do plan on inserting myself into these problems and figuring them out from the inside.
I love it. You're prepared.
But so yeah, the real thing is they're the same party. You know, they're the same people. They go to the same country clubs, and none of them give a shit. You know, you look today. There's congressional ethics brought up 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats on stock market issues, and there you go, bipartisanship right there. That's how they work together. That right there should show you everything you need to know. They're all working their stocks. I mean, Tommy Tuberville's wife apparently is a day trader because he didn't declare over 100 transactions, and they lost money. So bless that. And you just see this constantly. It's clear as day. The question is, how do you reach the people that are still listening to this bullshit? How do you get to them? Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about actually in and what we'll be talking about for the General Strike Summit coming up. It's like more of how we can get this idea to happen and how we reach all those people. Sorry, Jason, back to you.
Right. One of the things I'd just like to very quickly mention about these liberals who are calling it, they're migrant overflow facilities and shit like that. And how, it's a remnant of the Trump era and all that kind of stuff. One, isn't it a little bit fucking embarrassing when you're elected president of the United States, which is supposed to be the most powerful position on the planet, and you have the authority to drop bombs and destroy entire nations overseas? You are like the bringer of the end times to people living in third world countries. However, when it comes to your own country, I can't do anything. It's bipartisanship. Have you guys seen the U.S.-Mexican border? It's one of the biggest borders in the world. It stretches on for that's like a 3-day drive from the edge of California.
It's also like natural barriers, like mountains too. Like
it's huge. What are these people worried about migrants getting? Like, if we don't go there and whip them and put them in detention facilities, they're going to be running around and like just crowding up the border. No, they're not. They'll be gone before you even know it. These people just want shelter. They want food. They want safety from American aggression. And the problem is, you guys in America do have the resources to give these people shelter, to give these people citizenship if they're asking for it, to give them everything they need. The reason why they don't come in through the front door is because that front door has a fucking toll booth and it's expensive as hell to get in. American citizenship, one of the most expensive things you could buy. All right. I could buy a brand new car before I can afford an American citizenship. And I don't even want to drive. But I digress from that. It all goes back to white supremacy. And when it's about keeping the country white. And when Democrats hear about this, they go, oh no, they can't be white supremacists because Kamala Harris is like, she's a person of color, right? And I'm like, no, you can put as many people of color as you want into positions of government. You can put as many women or minorities as you want into positions of government. As long as the system is structured the way it is, which is favoring and catering to white supremacy will be enforced by whoever is in power, whether it's someone like Donald Trump or whether it's someone like Obama or Biden or Harris. It's going to be enforced no matter what. So, yes, it's very important that, we pressure these politicians to do things about this, but we need to understand that the system is ingrained in white supremacy. And unless the system is taken apart and, properly fucking just taken down, you're not going to change these issues, unfortunately. Like, this is America we're talking about. You guys can move mountains if you wanted to. You converted your entire nation into a bullet and bomb and tank factory for the Second World War. You've invented so many things, destroyed entire countries. Y'all make aircraft carriers from here and back. You have fucking satellites in space. But it's impossible to provide some poor black and brown people with some shelter. Give me a fucking break.
I know.
Yeah, well,
Adrian, what do you got?
We'll
come back to you, Steve.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Go ahead,
Adrian, what do you got?
I just want to say I do know why a lot of people care about the border. It's because it's a virtue signal on the right. And the main thing about that is you really have to try to find ways of holding these people accountable. When they talk about wanting to end war or fight for Medicare for all, it's not just leftists that are advocating for these things. But when they say, oh, no, the bill's too woke or whatever else, we do have to, fighting for something specific here, ending the wars, getting Medicare for all, everything else like that. And just furthermore about the ending the war situation, I actually love what both Savage and Liv Romana had to say about just ending it by a strike of the pen. We can actually get out of all the wars, end them all, and then at least America won't look like the bad guy anymore. And I think that's very important to go for. So for sure.
Yeah, but
Steve,
that's up to you. We've got a country that politics does not focus on individuals or any people's welfare. It's focused strictly on the benefits to those who are in power. Whether it's financial power, political power, whatever. And so in a sense, everything that you see, whether it's on the right or the left, is always optics at this point. It's just trying to get people distracted enough to not see the commonality of humanity here. Because we're headed into a disaster.
We're there. It's here. The disaster is here.
It's here. Right. We're seeing the hurricanes and the other stuff.
Wildfire season here. Hurricane season is
and it's going to get worse, and the migration is going to be worse, and and everybody is just like trying to ignore it and make money while they can. The billionaires are just shooting themselves up into space for fun, and it's just insane. I saw today there was a story that some billionaire wants to build a giant 5 million people city
town.
Town. In the middle of nowhere, right? Bigger than Vegas. And I'm going, my God. I mean, is this the Onion? But it's probably true. Of course, it probably is some scam they're trying to work out.
Andrew, what do you got?
Yeah, well, real quick to Stephen's point, there was, I think, 5 or so years ago, a Matt Damon movie, I'm pretty sure, where billionaires created like a man-made planet or something, and they all went over there and left everyone else there. So, right, we're not too far off from that. But one thing we kind of touched a little bit upon this, but I really wanted to kind of intersect imperialism with xenophobia, because in so many ways, imperialism enables xenophobia. And I think Max Blumenthal, in his book Management of Savagery, which I definitely recommend you all read, because he really gives a perfect anti-imperialistic lens on foreign policy and how America is interconnected with so many different problems that are going on in other countries without us even knowing, because no one talks about it. But I think, just think about, even for one example, we'll use Syria, right? When America got involved in regime change within Syria, you are causing so many different refugees to now be displaced. And then they end up coming over to America, right? So this is how neoliberalism enables, authoritarian right fascism, right? Because now you have all these people coming over to America because we completely destroyed their homes. And then that gives the far right, like the Steve Bannon types, a platform to then say, oh, we don't know who these people are. These black and brown people, scary terrorists, right? And so see how it really is like all interrelated, and it is a bipartisan scheme to enable chaos and this injustice to happen. So I just wanted to kind of really point that out and spell that out.
Thank you. No, excellent points. We are approaching the 1 hour mark, and I really want to make sure we get enough time in for our next topic. So last closing thoughts on
Elysium was the planet. Yes, I remember that
now. What we can do to help, what we can do to draw more attention to this, to keep this outreach going. Last thoughts on this issue.
Education. No matter what, we need education.
Don't stop talking about it. Talking about it.
Yeah, just keep talking about it. Keep screaming it. And we just keep talking about it. Keep screaming about it. No matter what, just keep talking about it. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your family members. If they're willing to listen, of course. Talk to your coworkers. Talk to everyone you can. Because these things are coming to light. Light is being shed on them. And as long as we keep it up, as long as we keep it up and we do not give up and we keep talking until almost everyone knows what imperialism is and what the United States has done, then it will be completely unignorable at some point. Now, when that point will come, I don't know. Probably very soon, considering how fast everything is going to shit. But yeah, if that's the one thing I could give to everyone, edu-fucking-cation. Maybe if you're involved in a community group or hold some classes, shit like that, or hold like gatherings and stuff, or online meetings like this, or just send podcasts to your friends, just keep spreading this as fast as you can and do not shut up about it, no matter how tiring it is.
Yeah, please don't stop, y'all. Well, I'm going to pass it over to Anna now because this was her idea, and I'm very excited to talk about it. This is also a very personal topic for me. So, Anna, lead the way. What do you got?
Thank you, Liv. Yeah, this is a very personal topic for me as well. I mean, I think, we talk about material conditions and we talk about mental health. But very rarely, especially the mental health industry, is that intersection talked about. I think mental health under late stage, or as someone said, death stage capitalism, is a huge issue that I think almost everyone, if not everyone, is facing. And I have very firsthand knowledge of the mental health industry and the way that they individualize and put the responsibility and the blame on the individual for responses that are reasonable responses to the hell that we live in, and pathologizing these responses. And I will be the first person to say that mental illness is real. I'm very mentally ill. All of that is is real, and there are very valid, clinical diagnoses. But at the same time, I think there are definitely a lot of things that are normal responses to
a pandemic, to losing your job, to then losing your health care.
Hunger scarcity.
All those things. You're right. These are all like from the system that has been constructed. These are all formidable results that were to be expected, and now how do we deal with them? So maybe you want to start by just saying like how this is personal to you and what this means for you and what you see going forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is very, very personal to me. 'Cause I think I've struggled with mental health my whole life. I've been in therapy since I was 11. I first started psychiatric medication when I was 12. I spent all of my high school years in a residential treatment center in southern Utah, actually. And so, beyond knowledge of the mental health industry as a whole, the troubled teen industry is something I'm particularly passionate about. And that's a whole thing, and that I would like to, at some point talk about, because there's a lot there, and a lot of people don't know what's going on with that, and the abuses and unethical nature of these programs towards minors. But I think as I have become more aware, read things, reading theory, becoming more radicalized, at times I've felt like it was a burden, like to know. I feel, when I was like clueless, I was clueless. And of course I have the privilege of, tuning in or out, not knowing or knowing. And, I try to tell that to everyone who is, I don't really like to get involved in politics, because you have the privilege because these things don't affect you, and, I think there's definitely like this doomerism, like this end of the world mentality that I think definitely fucks with, especially us, like as organizers, leftists. I think, a lot of my comrades, so we all, struggle with this helplessness, and that can be it is very taxing on mental health. All of that is, so important in, I think, these discussions, and it's very rarely talked about, from what I see, and I try to bring that aspect in when I can, when it makes sense. But the mental health industry does not really consider the effects that capitalism has on people.
And I want to step in right here, only because Liv dropped, her connection dropped, so she'll be getting back on in just a second. I just want to make sure everybody knew that. But to piggyback off what Anna is saying here, and to push the question to the panel, this is a point that the intersectionality of mental health in late stage capitalism is essentially what we're talking about. And it's almost like no recognition that late stage capitalism is causing these effects, right? So there's no recognition that capitalism actually traumatizes it brings a lot of trauma. And what comes to mind is a professor. His name is Zinkas. I think a lot of us follow him, Professor Zinkas. I've had him on my show many times.
I've had him.
He has a TED Talk out. I recommend everybody go and look up and YouTube.
I'm back.
Yeah, no problem. I came in. So YouTube him. His name is Professor Zenkus, Zenkus.
Can you guys send it in the chat?
Yeah, he has a TED Talk. about this particular topic where it's talking about how capitalism traumatizes kids in particular and people that are poor. Like he has a TED talk on that, and he talks about this. I had him on my show, Straight Out of Politics, to talk about it. So this is a real thing, that people are having mental issues or mental reactions to things that's happening because capitalism is crumbling around us. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that and make sure everybody knows this is a real thing. There is a real therapist. He is a professor at Columbia University, and this is a real thing that he talks about. And I'll pass it back to Anna to take over from here or if you wanted to give it to the panel to talk about.
Adrian, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, the Black Lives Matter protests last year, I thought it was interesting that the leader for like people to like kind of grow onto was White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. Imagine if she was your therapist. I don't think it would go too well. And so oftentimes I feel like if you wanted to, we are the leaders, essentially. We are the left leaders. I think that we should also try to do our best to help foster mentorships to young people, do what we can for people's mental stability, because we do actually know the problems that go on with capitalism and how it affects everybody, the infrastructure throughout America, and how it feels like everything's breaking apart. So it would be helpful for people like us to see through voices who are actual people who can help alleviate some of the mental trauma that people are going through. And other than Anna, hear your play. I personally teach kids music, and I try to be a leader for them. And so, there's ways about trying to add what we call direct action or mutual aid to actually help those people in need for those kind of reasons. But I definitely want to go ahead and look at the link that was sent when it's submitted, and I'll read up on it and watch that TED Talk.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And sorry, I was going to say something. Does anyone have anything? Sorry, I just forgot what I was going to say. My bad.
What?
Okay, a lot of people have things.
Lots of thoughts. We'll start with Austin. And
okay.
Then, we'll go with Austin first.
I will. So I don't know how much I want to share, but I think some of y'all know I got shingles the other week, and I don't know. I learned a little bit about shingles. I learned it hurts like a motherfucker, and I also learned that it's not a disease or an issue for the young, unless you so collapse under stress and worrying about things. In my case, the existence of humanity and a planet not on fire for my daughter, so it's real. The pain that capitalism has brought on this world is real, and it takes physical manifestation in you. You might not know it. Might be a little twitch. You might be drinking too much. You might slow all the time, brain fog. All these things is because you work your ass off and you can barely damn eat. I don't know about y'all. I haven't been on a vacation in a long time, and I heard those things are pretty decent for stress relief. So with that in mind, the effects of capitalism will be borne out upon all our bodies.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Sorry. Go ahead.
If I could just say, I have several family members who have severe mental health disorders. I have friends that have health disorders, and it's ironic how badly we handle it here in the United States, because we treat mental health just like we treat healthcare in general, as a commodity. I have a woman, a friend, a poet in Montreal, is schizophrenia, and she can get any kind of medication or therapy she wants. She's not a rich person at all, it's everything is available. Here, it's like you're made to go jump through hoops just to get care. And the lower down on the scale you are, the worse it is.
Yep.
And that started happening back in the Reagan era. I originally, believe it or not, I had a psychology degree. I started as a counselor at a group home facility. And that's back when the government still attempted to try to deal with the mental health issues of poor kids. Now they don't even try. Now it's pretty much just send them into prison. But at the time, they were, we moved away from that idea that we have some sort of commonality with people in this country if they, if they're not in our income bracket, if they're not the same skin color, if they're not whatever, if they act differently, if they have there's a stigma, right? Everybody knows there's a stigma in mental health, and despite all the progress we've made, that stigma is still immense. And here we are putting more and more stress on more people. I bet you could probably diagnose 75% of Americans with one mental disorder or another, from depression to suicidal ideation to who knows what. You know what I mean?
Everyone's got something.
Absolutely. I remember what I was going to say off of Adrian, about taking care of others and, how we need to be here for other people, given we understand. But I think it's important, and I've done a lot of that. Specifically, something that I'm really passionate about and have done a lot of is crisis work, like evaluation, de-escalation of individuals who are actively suicidal, like very acute crisis situations, is something that, I think I work well in those, in that environment and doing that. But I think something that's so important is that we take care of ourselves first. We can't help anyone if we are not okay or functioning. That's something that I have had to talk with my therapist about so much. Personally, like I did spiral into addiction during quarantine to, very, very strong opiates. And it was really difficult to even feel like a person again. I could not be there for anyone else if I wasn't even a person myself. It was, and actually it's funny today, actually the 22nd is today's my 5 months sober.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's huge. Congrats.
Tons of people though, addiction manifesting itself right now especially in these isolation conditions. That is when addiction thrives, in isolation. In quarantine has been the perfect host for that. And so, something that has been kind of like a mantra for me or whatever is, you can't help anyone unless you help yourself. I think we all need to keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's hard, especially for us caretakers.
And actually,
that's really hard for us to say.
Was that when you're a radical believer, and you'd be considered maybe like a contrarian to some or most, and you're constantly submitting YouTube videos from a left perspective to try to change the hearts and minds of your friends and everything like that, and you become controversial. You feel alienated. You're at home constantly under quarantine. But the best way to get rid of COVID-19. And everybody's trying to mandate vaccines. A lot of horrible stuff going out there, all at once. And my point was, like I was talking about Rao and D'Angelo, you have to be very careful sort of about who your therapist is and who's trying to help you, right? I do think it'd be great to have some right-wing ideologue or something like that, And I just wanted to say that for those that can actually hold strong bonds within and have the ability to help others, especially when it comes to leftists ourselves, I do think it's important to try to help others understand, sort of approaching things with love and kindness from the jump. No matter what attacks come our way, we always try to give back the best that we can. And I completely understand what's going on with you, Anna. Not completely, but I I feel empathy for your situation. I'm really proud of you. And I was just saying that, we also have to be careful about what kind of mental health help we're going to be given to anybody. And, I would think that we would, and we have the right and make resources to help people with their mental health.
Right. I mean, it's like, it's part of that. It reminds me of, doing, mental and like emotional labor, educating people. That can get exhausting sometimes, but something that I have to remind myself of is, if I don't do it, someone else will. They might Google this issue and the first thing they click on is a PragerU video, and then that's where they're at with it. And
oh
yeah, so I absolutely agree with you.
Fucking.
I guess I saw Andrew and Savage Joy, so I don't know who wanted to.
Let's go, Andrew, and then we'll go to Joy, and then Steve. Do you got something?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Andrew.
So I wanted to kind of respond and expand a little bit to something that Steven said when he talked about how there's a stigma to mental health. Yes, I definitely agree with that, but I think it's also important to realize that it's a stigma to mental health until capitalism realizes that it's beneficial for them to recognize it, to distract from something else, right? So, for example, I don't know how many of you may be in different working environments, right? Like I previously worked for a nonprofit, right? Underpaid, overworked, right? And instead of them acknowledging that, and they start to bring up mental health, where it's like, we realize you're feeling overworked, right? We realize that maybe you need some self-care. We brought in a yoga instructor afterwards, right? So then they start talking about mental health, but in a very cynical way, because they want to distract you from the real problem, where it's like, yes, maybe you're having mental health challenges, but yoga is not going to do shit if you're constantly stressed and overworked, right? And so I think that is just always something to keep in mind when it is like, yes, not only is mental health stigmatized, but it can be manipulated as well in a very, patronizing way. Cynically manipulated. So that's just something I feel like that can't get stressed enough, because
Could you provide an example by chance?
An example? Sorry, Adrian, you asked an example?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, one example that I gave
Yes.
was just sort of workplaces, for instance, not acknowledging that maybe people are overpaid or understaffed, right? So continuing to do those things, not addressing the fundamental issue of maybe paying you more for the work you're doing and instead offering you a free yoga class after work. Because the number one thing you want to do is when you're overworked and underpaid is stay longer at your workplace to do yoga, right? So those are just, I think, things, and but there are many other ways that it permeates as well. I've seen it on college campuses all the time.
Andrew, are you saying
I don't know.
work less and get paid more?
Oh, is that what I said?
For my mental health.
Reverse whatever was said.
Sure.
See, you're overworked. See?
Yeah, exactly.
Go do some yoga. Smell the
the
boss's butt.
Vacation.
Work less, paid more. Yes.
Joy, you're next.
So I don't know if you guys can see this, but can you guys see the semicolon? Wait.
Yep. Yeah, I have one too.
Yeah.
You do? I figured at least one of you guys did. So for those of you who don't know, that means my story isn't over yet. And people who have either tried to commit suicide or thought about suicide or have suicide ideation, they get such a thing to show solidarity with others who have been there, but also as a reminder that my story isn't over yet. It was interesting because I'm in my 40s, yet have been, dealing with this shit since I was 12. And my first time publicly stating it was in front of over 130,000 viewers in Force the Vote Town Hall. I was talking about how, I woke up and I was mostly blind, literally overnight. And, I was explaining the trauma and how sometimes I get out of bed and I hope I won't wake up the next morning. It's very real, and it's something so many people go through. And it took everything in me to say that, especially in front of a gajillion people. And it bums me out that I waited till I was in my 40s to even be open about that, considering I'm so outspoken about everything else. But, before I lost my eyesight, I worked in healthcare for over 10 years. And I saw the ableism. I saw nurses say things like, oh, well, they must have forgot their crazy pills and stuff like that. And it was disgusting. Like, you work in healthcare. So I was one of the lead national organizers of the 56 Medicare for All marches, and I emceed the DC one. And I booked 16 speakers, but one of my biggest goals was I need a mental health doctor to come and talk about how Medicare for All would change people's lives. And she discussed how suicide is at an all-time high, how self-harm is at an all-time high, how depression and anxiety are at an all-time high. And under Medicare for All, suicides would go down tremendously because people could actually reach out and get help for the way they feel and get help to get their medication and treatments like that. Like, I'm like, wow, I hope I don't wake up the next morning and get out of bed, but I can't even afford a therapist because even with insurance, it's $120 every visit.
Yeah.
I should be going to a damn shrink 5 times a week, but I can't, I was like, I didn't go to one for months. And thankfully I found a guy who charges me like $50 under the table every week, but that's a lot of money too. I mean, quite honestly, like, I'm a disabled
with
person.
insurance, right?
What's that?
That's with your insurance, right? You're paying that on top of, you already have insurance.
Oh yeah, I have thousands in medical.
This is your copay that you have to pay on top of your fucking insurance. Yep.
And then with becoming blind, I had tons of expenses. Each eye treatment was over $12,000, with insurance still over $1,000. And I needed all this blind accessibility equipment to still be able to function. And thankfully, Marianne Williamson's a good friend of mine, and she did a fundraiser. And if she didn't, I'd be fucked. But like, you feel so helpless that you depend on people. I need help. I don't know what to do. And that's, with Medicare for All and with taking that capitalistic system out of healthcare, that would save so many lives and change so many lives. It's absolutely, relative to everything. Mental health goes with losing your job. It goes with becoming homeless. It goes with, not being able to provide for your family. It goes with having to work 3 jobs because you can't afford to take care of your kids. Like, it is central to every single thing. And if we did even that first, I think it would be practically utopian compared to the shit we're in right now.
Yeah.
I
think we can only go up from here, right?
Time. But I want to say you're absolutely right. And I can't even imagine, a world where or a country, where healthcare is like free or even just reasonable. I mean, the fact that if we're like in a major accident or severely injured, be like, don't call an ambulance, that's so expensive, is so messed up. I mean,
Uber drivers become people driving people in emergency situations by default.
absolutely.
I took an Uber to the emergency room 3
So
times.
have I. Yeah.
Crazy.
That's the most innovative thing Uber's done.
This is true. At least they're good for something. No, I'm just kidding.
And I think it's so important to talk about this because, one of the main things that. Sorry.
Oh, it's just feedback. You're good.
Okay, sorry. I think one of the main things that's first and foremost in all of our needs is to know that we're not alone, to have our issues and, these mental things that we're struggling with validated. I'm so sorry. I understand what you're going through. I know you're struggling. I'm struggling, and that's valid. And I'm here for you. So many people need that, and so I think it really does help to talk about these things because it shows people that they're not alone. And one of the first things that's most important in de-escalation, even like de-escalation training, is to validate that individual. Like I can't imagine what you're going through right now. This must be so scary. I'm so sorry you're going through this. That is validation and feeling like we matter, and we're not alone is so integral to the human experience. And collectivism. Just to have a society this individualist is just unnatural and bizarre.
Toxic individuals.
Yeah, societies have not lasted so long on individualism. It's been collectivism, and it's unnatural and very harmful things to be.
Babies, if they don't get like physical affection, they'll die, right? And that's something, and that means they require another person, right? And that does not go away even as you age, And something I was thinking about when Joy shared her story is don't hide your flaws. I wrote this down. I said, don't hide your flaws. That's how they shame you. And then I crossed that out. And then that's how they control you. And I crossed that part out. That's how they kill you is correct. Yeah. Don't hide your flaws. Anybody who sits there and stands in judgment of you is a piece of shit and not worth your time. And you've you've just sorted some trash to the side so you can drive on and keep doing what's good in this world.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually why my name is Anna Stop Crying. I've heard so many times in my life, like, Anna, like, stop crying, like, get a grip, but no, you're asking me to stop crying because you're uncomfortable. Crying is so good for you, as a person, just physically, emotionally, crying is so good for you. So no, like, I'm not going to stop crying. I'm not going to tone myself down for your comfort. So, absolutely.
Yeah, that's so good. Jason, you were next. Sorry to cut anyone off. Was that you, Steve?
No, go ahead. Good.
Jason. We'll come back to you. We'll have Jason. We'll go to Steve, and then I have something I want to share. Jason.
Okay. Yeah, I've had very. I won't go too deep into it, but I also have struggled with very terrible episodes of depression and anxiety and horrible thoughts. But I have a lot of friends I know who have been through way worse, and to hear what they have to go through, to hear their struggles and their pain, the whole thing just puts it into perspective. And I've been feeling this way for, I'd say, the last 3-ish years. There are people around me who've been experiencing this their whole lives, and it's terrifying. And I do feel such a fucking disconnect from modern therapists and from people who claim to talk about mental health, even people who have no malicious intent whatsoever. No one wants to fucking admit that the main problem the main cause of all of this depression in the Western world is capitalism. And when you say that, they treat you like some kind of conspiracy theorist, like some kind of fucking tinfoil hat wearing motherfucker. But no amount of therapy is going to stop the fact that tuition is still super expensive. No amount of therapy, is going to raise the fucking minimum wage so I can afford a place to live. No amount of therapy is going to change the fact that I will never be able to afford a house on the salary that I'm going to have when I fucking graduate from my college. I'm in animation. No amount of therapy is going to change the fact that the industry is going to tear me to pieces, work me to my fucking bones, take my intellectual property away from me, and then everyone around me, including my coworkers, are going to shrug their fucking shoulders and be like, oh, that's just how it is and shit. No amount of therapy is going to change reality. And they try to give us stupid fucking ways to cope. They try to tell us meditate. They try to tell us to maybe change our diet and go out more. They tell us to fucking yoga. That's a new one. Jesus Christ, that is absolutely hilarious. No, we don't want to have these discussions. Yes, there are things we can do to mediate the horrible effects that this world has on us at home. Antidepressants work for some people, but not for everybody. Other medications can do that as well. Maybe some people genuinely do get a better feeling when they go out or not. But one size fits all is not a good policy. Now, I do have a small solution for this, right? I do have an idea. I don't know if this is stupid or not. But other leftists will talk down to me when I talk about this because they think that it's counterintuitive. I personally think we should maybe give communes another bit of consideration, because where there is a commune, where there is a space for certain people, if anyone's able to just go to a place where they don't have to really worry that much about the capitalist world around them, not because they don't acknowledge it exists, but just so they can relax a fucking little bit and shit. For example, we're obviously going to talk about on the next podcast, the Tenacious Unicorn Ranch in Colorado. They take in trans people and queer youth who've been affected by homophobia and queerphobia in the United States, and it gives trans people a safe place to go. Now, a lot of Leninists, ironically, will fucking tell me how counterintuitive it is, because communes just offer an escape for those who are suffering under capitalism. And once they go over there, all they're going to do is pick their little berries and curl up inside their little homemade cabins with their oversized sweaters and drink hot cocoa and not have a care in the world about anything else. But that's bullshit. You want to know why? Because that implies that most people are selfish, and they are not. In fact, a lot of these younger people who are feeling this way are also very depressed because they know about the state of the world around them, because they know about the collapse of capitalism, because they know about the natural disasters, they know about climate change, they know about COVID getting worse, they know about all these things. But like you said, Anna, you need to take care of yourself first before you can help other people. And by opening up a place where younger people are just able to take a breath and not have to worry about rent or anything like that, or tuition or whatever, a place where they're able to just get themselves together, no matter how slow it may be, those people, I argue, are better equipped to help spread the word and fight against capitalism than the rest of us who are living in this hellhole. Because we got to deal with the existential bullshit of capitalism while dealing with its effects. That is not a balance that I particularly like. It's what I'm trying to say is, if we are just given a space to be able to live a little bit more, gather our fucking strength, gather our minds, gather our spirit. These communes are not going to be filled with people who are just lazy and sitting on their asses. The people at Tenacious Unicorn are not lazy. They're not sitting on their asses. They're activists. The EZLN can be, are you going to say that about the Zapatistas? They carved out a safe space for their people, and they are thriving in the fight against capitalism. And they send representatives all over the world to assist in activist movements. I genuinely believe as leftists we should consider putting our resources together and not counting out communes as well, because property unfortunately is the number one. Property rights are the number one thing that's keeping us from just having a place to be. If we could subvert that even temporarily and have a place for ourselves, we can better fight this, because we're not going to be so demoralized every single day. I don't want to fucking go to a protest when I fucking lose my job, or find out that because I got accepted on a shitty job offering, the government's going to take my disability away. I don't want to fucking go out and protest when everything around me is just suckish and I just want to curl up and die. Give people a place where they don't want to curl up and die. Those people will be warriors in the fight against capitalism. I promise you.
I think you're
Just
just
really
making
quick, can we put a trigger warning on this for mental health suicide? And also, Jay, I can give you the number for the suicide hotline if you could put that in the comments. It's 1-800-273-8255. And they do have a chat now, so you don't have to call. You can do a text. So just in case.
No, thank you. That's awesome. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I should probably just quickly mention for 2 seconds that mental health is not covered nationwide under Canada's universal healthcare program. So,
I will say this: it's covered better in Canada than it is here. But the other thing is, on the communes, I'm not going to knock you for that. I think that's a great idea, because we need to get people thinking outside the box. We need to get people understanding that we are all humanity. We share commonality, and the more we see the commonality, the more we tell these stories. You know, I'm very grateful for Anna for bringing this topic up. The more you share these stories, the more other people can see themselves in that same story and say, yeah, that's me too. Now something goes off in their head, and they say, yeah, my work is killing me. My boss is killing me. My extremely high amount of debt is killing me. That's where this was very valuable. To hear all these stories you guys shared. I'm very proud of you all. Exceptional to come forward and say that. Very brave, and just congratulations for doing it. Thank you.
Yes, and let me say I agree completely. But Joy, can you give me that number again? I want to make sure I have it on the screen. I want to make sure it's correct.
Let's see. It is 1-800-273-8255.
Okay.
Yep.
And the number is to where? So I can put that name.
The National Suicide Hotline is
Thank you.
24/7. And like I said, there's a chat now too. So I know a lot of times with mental health struggles, we do not like talking on the phone. They have a chat.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
To add a little bit on everybody's comments, thinking outside the box, something to think about is a commune requires land, and so that's a barrier to entry for folks, right? But workers' cooperatives and unionizing is something to maybe accelerate some of that, or work in place until funds can be established. Maybe somebody opens a nonprofit land lease company that acquires land with tax liens all over it and scoops all them up that nobody wants and goes on in. Alabama has a land bank program. I think there's probably similar in the country, where these land banks, there's maybe $100 worth of taxes on them, and you can go in and scoop them up like these broke bobbies and whatnot do.
That's
So
an idea.
just a
Yeah.
thought.
It's got a
Awesome.
good thought about worker co-op, particularly, you know, taking control of that aspect rather than being the employee. You become a member of something.
Yeah. And as Jay always says, all they want is our labor. Take it away
Yeah.
from them.
Yeah, that's the only thing we got. Well, I guess Steve did you have anything else you want to add? No? Okay. Well, long story short of my mental health story, I have bipolar 1 disorder. And I have I got diagnosed with that on April 4th, 2018. And I have been struggling with that for undiagnosed for years in early childhood, adolescence, especially through college. And then finally, what ended up getting me diagnosed was going through my first manic episode, which the only reason I am probably still here today is because I was already seeing a therapist. And because I was seeing that therapist at a practice, she had coordinated an appointment the next day with a psychiatrist to diagnose me and help get me medicated. Otherwise, I don't really know what would have happened. But these were all privileges because I have private healthcare insurance, and I was already seeing a mental health care specialist who was already in a practice. So these were all privileges that are not guaranteed to anyone, which would be with a single payer Medicare for all. Again, like that would be prevented, crises would be prevented, save so many countless lives. And so now I've been, have my treatment team, my therapist, my psychiatrist. I have my service dog who just woke up, and my 2 emotional support animals, my 2 emotional support cats. So, it's like mental health is a teamwork, makes the dream work. And under capitalism, that fucking costs money. And when you have the working class fucking living in poverty, that's not possible. So you are promoting the trauma of mental health and promoting crises of mental health to happen under capitalism. And especially when you're also withholding healthcare, or especially associating it more so even manipulating people by controlling it to connecting it to people's jobs and holding them hostage to it to prevent them from feeling like they can go on a general strike because they're like, but my healthcare, because that's so big for people. Because think of all the people we would get to strike if they said, fuck my job, because they knew they had healthcare. Revolutionary, game changer. So, everyone, it should not be a privilege to have access to mental health care. It is absolutely right, because healthcare is a right, and mental health care is part of healthcare. Don't let them bullshit you with this. Oh, but dental, but vision. No, mental health care is part of healthcare, as is vision, as is dental. It is all one with your body, as is health. It is only going to get worse and more expensive. The wealth gap is only going to increase. It's only going to become more inaccessible if we continue to let it. So, like, the time to strike is like now, because like things are like already horrible. Like we've already established, like, rights about everything are escalating right now, and that's only going to continue on that trajectory if we don't stop it right now, which is either through which we kind of just talked about on our 3 p.m. podcast, which is basically like through a general strike and mutual aid right now, because all they give a fuck about is our labor. So if we hold that hostage and help each other through mutual aid, where we can help assure people, like, look, you can go see a therapist, you can go see a primary care doctor, you can go see a psychiatrist, and I have healthcare. I have great healthcare, and I still have to see an out-of-network psychiatrist, which costs $300 a pop a session. So yeah, my broke grad student self has not seen this guy in a while. But like, so, but it shouldn't, and like Joy said, that the fact that I can't afford care should not dictate the fact that I need care and my ability to see care. If I need to see my psychiatrist, I should be able to have full access to my psychiatrist. There should be absolutely no burden, or especially a financial barrier to that. So again, all these things would be prevented if we had a nationalized single payer healthcare in place, which, you know, most other developed nations already do. So, and rant. Sorry, guys.
Oh, great rant. Way to go.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, all right, guys. We still got a good 25 minutes to go.
Well, thank you all for sharing your stories, first of all, because it is not easy to be that vulnerable. Like, you have strangers watching, and the ableism is real. And so, like, anyone who opens themselves up to share anything is just, you know, mad props. And I'm so glad that you guys, I'm going to get emotional, but
It's all right, sister. It's all right.
Yes, because it's
That's what-
it's a big thing for people to admit things out in the open, because it's so stigmatized that, I mean, I think we all get that part. Maybe we've all have, you know, mental episodes, instances, history that we all have, so you can kind of relate to that. And I can relate to Joy's tears, so I can relate to that. What I do want to say, Liv, we have come to our 90-minute mark.
Oh, okay.
But you do have the grace period of 30 minutes if you need it. But it feels like people are kind of resting with the conversation at this point. So maybe we can give last thoughts. We give some last, you know, shout outs, go around the table. So the floor is yours, Liv. You can do it in the order you like.
Sure. Yeah, we can do closing thoughts. Austin, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I actually just wanted to read a little bit from this little guy here, The Art of War, from Sun Tzu. This is from the first chapter, which is on laying plans. So bear with me. All warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When we are far away, we must make him believe we are near. Hold out baits to entice the enemy, feign disorder, and crush him. If he is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him. If your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. That's me. Pretend to be weak, that he may grow arrogant. If he has taken his ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, separate them. Attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. These military devices leading to victory must not be divulged beforehand.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Words of
Somebody
wisdom.
needs to clip that for real.
Yeah, that's great. Love it. All right, y'all. We can go around the table and we'll do closing arguments. We will start from the top. Oh, sorry, guys. We'll go with my top left, which is Andrew.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, a lot was said and a lot of, I think, necessary things were said. And I want to just thank everybody here for being real and really being able to kind of tie in their stories and talk about how their individual stories relate to kind of these huge systemic issues that we have here. Because I think one of us here has either dealt with our own mental health challenges or have been secondhand around people who have been working through things as well. And so I think the more we talk about it, the more people can relate and realize that they're not alone in this. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, talking about it helps normalize it, which helps destigmatize it. So that's what we got going on, guys. That's talking about it makes a big difference, and that's what I hope some people can get from this conversation is, talking really helps make a difference. Anna, closing thoughts.
Thank you. I am always, so grateful for an opportunity to talk about mental health. Especially in the context of mental health under, capitalism. I am very passionate about mental health, and if given, the opportunity, I could talk about it for a very long time. And so I really appreciate, the conversation that we've had here and the dialogue. I think it's been really great, really productive. And, I hope to people listening that it's beneficial, and that you hear a little bit of yourself, in any of our stories. Then you can reach out to me. I know, at Anna Stop Crying over here. If you like, send me a DM or whatever if you want to talk about it. It's always, always down to talk about it.
Thank you, Anna. Adrian? Oh, you're on mute. Oh, are you frozen? Is that just me? Oh, you're back.
Hold on. Hello? If
You're
I'm
good.
muted or not, though. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah. So this is my first time ever on here. So thanks for working with me. It was a lot of fun. What I've gathered from today's experience is that, a lot of people say there's no time or money for mental health care. That's important. But I think it's important that we actually look to solutions like fighting for less work and more pay. I think Anna, Savage, Liv Rosano, like Rosie the Riveter right now, by the way. I know those are all pretty awesome. And the world wouldn't be the same without them. So I also have anxiety at times, and I work on it all the time. But however, I feel like there is value in any life, and it's super immeasurable, and we shouldn't take, our lives for granted. So I'm really happy to have all of you guys here, and so everybody stay awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Steve?
I think what this whole conversation demonstrated is we need to change the paradigm from being consumers, commodities, workers, deplorables, discardables, to being necessary. Right? That's the biggest thing that the left needs to do is say, hey, you're not somebody we're going to classify as one little thing. You are our employee, or you're our buyer, or you're whatever, because that's how we separate people from each other. That's how we destroy empathy. And that's the biggest thing the left needs to do right now, I think, is try to change the conversation into, hey, we need each other.
Yeah. We
don't need to be just individuals, because that's not working for most people. Let's be honest.
It's
yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you. Joy, you're next. And I want to just give you the biggest hug right now.
I hate crying on the air. I hate it. My name is Joy.
You're so
I'm not
strong.
supposed to, damn it.
I love you. It's healthy. Get it out. Just get it out.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I think I would just I will leave I guess just with the thought that, I usually say things like, empathy is going to be the end of me, because, as leftists, if you, I don't like to label, but you know what I mean? We have the reason we want Medicare for all, and we want housing as a right, and we want these things. It's not for us, it's for others. We have empathy. And when we know what we know, it wears on our soul. So empathy can be very daunting. And I know that's one of the huge contributors of my depression. And I'm guessing a lot of other people's as well. So it's, sometimes I wish, oh my God, I wish I could go 24 hours without knowing what I know. And then I'm like, you know what? Fuck that. Because those people only think they're happy. They're not. There's no depth there. There's no real, true soul and empathy and understanding. So we, at this point, like we have to embrace the fact that we feel other people's pain, because we do. So there's either hate that we do it or embrace it, and we need to embrace it, because people don't always have the ability to fight for themselves. So that's our job. We're the voice for the voiceless.
Yeah. Like what you and Steve just said, empathy. It has to come from a place of empathy too. Love and empathy. Definitely. Austin?
Yeah, I'd like to say that anybody see my handle on Twitter, my DMs are open if you're struggling and you don't feel like you have, if the phone numbers ain't what you want to call. And, with that in mind, today is here and tomorrow shall be different. Whatever you're suffering through today, fight through it. Help is on the way.
Thank you. And Jason?
One of the reasons I have that banner of Lenin and Marx and Engels on the back, Lenin in particular, isn't because I wanted to put something in my room that constantly reminded me of my own political ideology. I don't need that. I'm good without it. I put it up there because seeing the faces of people like that who helped lead these revolutions makes me realize that change is indeed possible. And when I complain to people in the real world about all these horrible problems that we face, and they shrug their shoulders and say, what can you do? That's how the world works. All I have to do is remember these guys, and I know for a fact that they're lying, that it's bullshit and that it's not true. And it helps a lot. So if you're in that situation where you feel like nothing can be done, where you feel like nothing's going to change, where you're down in the dirt, yes, things are going to get worse before they get better, because that's how capitalism is. But it will get better. And it won't be from politicians making legislation at the last second. It won't be from GoFundMe campaigns. It'll be because of people like you. It'll be because of average people who decided to have enough, who risk it all, who put their lives on the line for others. And that's what gets me through my day. If change does happen in my lifetime, and it probably will, and I'm put in a situation where, this is the moment of truth, then I'll be happy with whatever comes next, because at least I'll know what side I'm on at that time. I apologize if that was like a little bit rambly, but
hey, rednecks of the world unite.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you, Jason. And CJ. Nice hat, Anna. Nice. And it's CJ. Are you gonna come say goodbye real quick?
Oh, I thought I heard
Hello.
CJ. I'm like, did he say CJ? Yes, I want to say this has been a great panel, and I think I made the right decision to stay off of it and just listen, because I wanted to listen to some conversations. I'm always so engulfed in them, and I want to hear more. So I'm glad I did that for this episode. and it's been a great experience. So thank you everybody for sharing. We want to make this the first of many. Literally, we're going to make this the first of many episodes where we're diving into mental health, because we always say we need to concentrate, but we don't. I'm not going to say that, but we're going to start actually having the conversations more often. So I think that's what I have to say, and I'll pass it back to you.
Love it. Thank you. Shout out to the chat. Yeah. Y'all have been awesome. Keeping the fire. Thank y'all for being here, being supporters. Love you, fellow comrades. Closing thoughts. I guess with both our topics and like what we kind of just said, like just whether it's the humanitarian crisis at the border or your own mental health and trying to survive under death stage capitalism. Remember to have love and empathy for others, but also importantly for yourself. And self-care is love. Love yourself. Take care of yourself, because we need you, and can't take care of others if you don't have yourself. You are loved and valued. And welcome to the Fred Hampton leftist community. Like you have a community. You are. I love something that's helped me with my mental health is knowing I have a community, and y'all help and contribute so much to my mental health and well-being. Knowing that I have amazing comrades like you out there who are feeling the same struggle, who are done with this shit and ready to see change. So thank y'all. This is like therapy to me to be here. Love it.
Me too. All right. So I'm going to sign off and let everybody and let the audience go. We will be back on for the New Left podcast at 8:00. That's about 40 minutes away. So take a break and come back for the next conversation. Everybody here, please stay on after the live stream goes off. So we have a Q&A for a few minutes after this. So stay on.